Good evening, everyone. We will go ahead and call to the November 5th for 77. Meeting. And in the instant, go ahead. Jump right into it. I go ahead and Dr. Berkey, the subject for this evening is going to be high school student credit.
All right, well, thank you so much. We've been, first of all, I want to thank members of our team for giving up portions of their meeting here to have a really important conversation. And when they, we all have a lot of this discussion around. I also want to recognize that, you know, this conversation started actually back last school year. So meetings with me and John and Ned, Brian and I were involved in to really kind of unpack what are all the kind of intricate pieces that are at work here and that are really leading into, I think, some of the concerns that we have. So again, we will, the question that we pose is really why are so many of our seniors and students at the high school not having the process and how can we position ourselves to literally give a program that really kind of builds that time that students have in high school to not only kind of look at how do we best kind of provide them the services we have here, which I think kind of credit school and first, but really to make sure they're prepared for whatever their dream is once they graduate and beyond our district. And so we wanted to really understand how is it that some of these students are having open periods and partial schedules. And, you know, that could be, and what might we want to do to be able to make sure that we really have everything needed to go forward as they move forward. So to do that, we looked at what we found is it's not one thing or even two things or even three. It's actually a variety of things, but we are able to group them down and in just the time, we're probably going to move these at a pretty quick pace. We could honestly have a study session on one of these. And so I just want to let you know, we are going to kind of move through it, and if there are any questions that you have, absolutely you can ask them, but we also we're going to try and make them the end, so you can save to the end that we get all of those pieces. That's kind of those there. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Brian to kind of give you a review of the current student data.
Okay, thank you. I could pass this out. In a previous teacher, I know the dangers of doing that. What's going around right now is basically some supporting information data that we use today through different parts of the conversation. Really what's going around. First of all, looking at, as Aaron said, why are a number of our students not having a good schedule, particularly in junior and senior year. So we post that down. Talk about. No. Yes. So at the top, it says 25-26 student data. So this was pulled about 3 weeks ago, so don't expect it's exactly the same today, for sure it's not. So this tells us that in ninth grade, we have 218 students who are at that time, and of those students, there's 217.07 FTE. So that means almost all students are paid, all probably by one, and maybe two are taking full schedules this class. 10th grade, a little bit of difference by about 6. These are who they are. So make sure you're aware of that. Like this said, online program. And then you start to see the big change at 11th grade, 189 headcount, generating 66.86 FTE. So difference there of roughly 23. And then when we get 12th grade, which is actually by headcount, largest school within 10th grade, we're generating 169. So a difference of, close to 60. James shared some information with me earlier this year. It's about the same last year. In 12th grade, it was about 60. And the year before, it was about 60, to the point where we've actually started to staff based on that number of 60. So it's not a one-year situation for students. So basing, so what I did is got a little bit deeper in and looked at what is the difference in 12th grade between 2.6 and 169. We see that running start is 21.48 FTE, so that's actually that is not taken to the district, students, colleges, so that reduces it to 226. Snow Isles is a snow isle program, 21. ALE is unique. We have 18 students that are in 9-12 at this time, and they're only generating 9.8 FT. That doesn't mean we're not looking at full schedule. Some of them may have a hybrid schedule because it does high school. What this means is that they're only completing work to generate 9.8 FT. So they'll be close to 45%. On completion, there's less than 7 hours.
So
So,
it's different every month.
absolutely, right, for grading. Right? Maybe you weren't there, so, that's one of the problems, just, it's, the development of the AI. It's a side, it's just, giant classrooms, they have a large. So that's a loss. 108 students do not have a 1.0, so they have one class. So that's significant. It's close to half of our students do not need to take 6 classes per student. And then 36 students in addition to that do not have a. So it's 2 classes. So it's a big problem. Right, beneficial stuff. Any questions about that one?
Wrap.
Lab, it's not the data that I have, if you know, how many of that there are, but under 5.
Yeah. We know that it's different.
Yeah.
And does that, they're participating in the original person, apprenticeship programs that then go to their entity and we are.
Yes.
Students. Okay.
It's-
Yeah.
Now in here, they will.
Pretty the same, just no. Okay.
So you probably could add. So as Aaron said, it's not just one thing. And it's why our 6 classes that. Any other questions about that?
I was just gonna make a, my 12th grade right now. Yeah. Over 25% of our students that do not have, not.
And I think as we go through it, when considering you heard from probably the students who talked to the topics, it's not only about lots of, when we don't have our students fully engaged in all the things that are high school career and sometimes these are the process, not only do we worry that we have enough about the skills and knowledge that we want to support them moving forward, but that loss of FTE also decreases the number of course offerings in total, because if they were here, sections of things diversified what we offer, because we have more FTE to move around and create kind of an increasing kind of selection of courses that might therefore entice even more students to be like, oh, I can take the whole.
And it's also a lot of philosophy too. That's a great question. Any other questions about that? Are we data and go through the rest of it? So next thing is opportunities for high school credit and middle school. So there's table there. Did you want to talk about that, Amanda?
No, I mean, I think that over the
Yeah.
course,
Right.
just say, go ahead. Over the course of the last few years, we've looked at that and really started to slim down the number over the last few years. And so I think where we're at now is really appropriate. Space, the classes that they are taking, I mean, we offer algebra, there are 2 sections, and the kids were a year ahead. So they're getting that algebra credit. We aren't even offering geometry at the middle school right now because we have our students who are starting here at the beginning of the day. We have 18 students who start their day here in geometry, so they're actually getting their geometry credit here at the high school. And then this is the second year we've been able to offer Spanish because we share staff members, so we do have students who are getting that first year. But then that's great because if they're successful, then they jump into Spanish too, when they come out to the high school. And then Symphonic Band is going together, another class right now that we're on. So we've just really spent the time in the last couple of years, they're looking at them closely, kind of figuring that out, deciding what is appropriate. Is it, is it a mirrored class at the high school, and making sure that that's really the bar by which we judge it.
Question about, Spanish, is that offered to all students, just eighth graders, all eighth graders, so every eighth grader speaks Spanish?
No, not every, no, it's
Okay.
it's an elective, choice elective, just like the others.
Okay.
This year, we had slightly more than one section, but then on that or two, until we went through and, contacted parents and tried to make best choices. We figured out that we was successful, so we started one, good size.
In geometry at the high school offerings.
Yes, and those are eighth graders who are 2 years ahead. So these are kiddos who came into us as sixth graders going into what's our compressed 7-8. And then they took algebra as seventh graders, and then they're kind of
Alongside other high schools.
Yeah.
Right.
oh yeah, it's not
Here in
yeah,
the morning.
it's not just a class of other and a class of other, freshmen level here. Yep. They come here first thing and then the class starts on.
In terms of how this plays out with the moving cohorts that are in ninth grade, 10th grade, and 12th grade right now, it varies. And so, Washington State history, yes, they got it. Your ninth graders, yes, they got it. Last year, wasn't. This year, everyone reading this thing. Drama, I'm not sure when you stop. It's been a couple of years, so it's been an evolution, so those kids be different, in different situations. Some of it is just hard to move on all that, and give your class and say, hey, for next year, eighth graders got drama, office tag. Washington State history, and now you're getting nothing, so we kind of tried to go a little bit at a time and say, okay, this one's not offered anymore. And I think John and Jeff and Mary Ann will recognize the reason why there were so many at the middle school was kind of the concern that we had around 424 when that was put in place, and we had some couple of possible options like with scheduling, and then ultimately decided that we tried to get more options for middle schoolers and to add some space in their schedule. But it doesn't play out that seems to be concern at this point.
I think it's important to note the Washington State history, so it is the state graduation requirement, and so what we're doing is, a lot, and we're kind of gonna go back to a practice I think we did previously, which is very common. We will still indicate that they've met proficiency. If they satisfy that, there's just no credit attached to it. So they're still satisfying that requirement in the middle school for those students who pass it or are with us at that point, but so it's not that they're losing that opportunity, they're just not earning credit for having done that stuff. Our registrar marks it on their transcript, and that one of the graduation requirements, but
I would say it's variable across our region of one friend, so getting that.
And maybe you explained this and I missed it, but. So Running Start, Snow Isle and ALE, those are the obvious ones why we're not seeing full schedules. So what are the others? I mean, are we getting to that?
we're gonna get to that. Good question. Yeah, we're gonna get to that shortly, and I think, and that's the one I think the majority of our group is prepared to kind of definitely share some feedback on and where we're at and where we're gonna move forward, so. All right, well, the next place, kind of in that similar vein that Brian was talking to, in that, I think in the era of 424, in terms of that, concerning that, what happens, we have 4 years for students to earn 24 credits, what happens if there's any kind of slip ups or things along the way? I think there was some creative problem solving that occurred to look for different ways, and one of them has to do with advisory at Lakewood High School, and so advisory generally speaking, I think that's fair to say, is not a credit bearing class. So it's really a time to get together and engage in community activities, kind of Sometimes it's, participating surveys, it's definitely to do things that are related to kind of the school and kind of provide feedback. And so, Jeanette and I and Brent, we talked a little bit about that. So I don't know if you want to add in a little bit. I know it's been about 4 or 5 years.
It's been
Oh, no,
5
it's been longer than that, 7, 8.
So I came in 8 years ago and we, my understanding, we had advisory, but it was not credit bearing. And, I was the previous superintendent that I had my first year. We had a conversation around that we had to make it credit bearing because there was something about instructional minutes and money that was being lost based on instructional minutes that weren't identified as instructional time and credit. So we adopted a curriculum, we made it credit bearing, it's a half a credit a year. So we meet every other week, and that's kind of how that decision was made. And that has evolved into more, we've got student feedback on what to use, and we kind of use Character Strong as a base and adopt, lessons from that. We base it on student feedback. Now we're doing grade level advisory, so there is a half a credit per year that is earned, which means that the students can earn up to 2 credits over the course of their 4 years.
So, well. Kind of put it in context, we went from offering 6 credits a day. Or 6 credits a semester. 6 credits a year.
Yeah.
I was getting there, it's big goal start. Yeah. 6 credits a year. For this many hours in the school day to somehow finding another quarter credit that, or a half credit that was added in without any more minutes in the school. Which is one of the things that we rejected when we looked at going towards a kind of a hyper schedule, where you had 28 credits in a year because you're rotating classes and all that, is we felt like it wasn't necessarily genuine to, not give more instruction and give more credit. So I think that one of the questions we have today is, do we want to walk that back now? I'm sure there are good intentions in mind, but when you look at the data, which is on this sheet, 32 of the students use those 2 credits to graduate. However, 23 of those, if they just took a full schedule of their senior year, would. So it's become a little bit of a, I've got that, so I don't need to fill out my schedule, which is, if that's the way we want to go, that's an option. We're kind of leaning more towards the fact that while you're here, we have things to offer you that's better than not taking a class. And, we'd like to develop those, so, but it's just a possibility.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
When the conversation around 424 came up with adding all those middle school credits, the students who earned the middle school credits were not the same students who needed the advisory credit to graduate, right? So these are all advanced classes.
Right.
So the students who may slip up and have like failed elective or something, they use that advisory credit to help support that. So it's almost like 2 separate groups. And then also this advisory data is from the 24-25 school year.
Another buffer, if we were to, decide to, move away from the advisory credits, that Jeanette has the ability to give 2 flexible credits to students in their senior year of elective credits or pathway credits. So I don't know how many of these students need those as well. I didn't break it down that far, but that's an option as well. Of those 9 students maybe, that didn't need them, there might have been another option to doing that without giving 2 credits to the other tuition helping students.
So just a question on that. So Jeanette, you mentioned when it first started, it wasn't necessarily that same group of students that has that evolved? Is it now potentially the same group of students pulling, or is it
We
still
didn't-
different demographics and different?
We didn't break
students?
it apart.
Okay,
Just having been doing this for a while, the kids who are
Yeah.
earning advanced credits in middle school, coming to high school are not the same kids that are failing electives that need that advisory credit to graduate.
I would just to add on to that though, drama, office tech and yearbook, those were not advanced, those are not
No,
advanced. but
they were-
great, and that's right. So there's probably some
Yeah.
potential benefits to some students that had more of a hands-on right side.
And it's fair to say that the concern of instructional minutes that kind of precipitated the decision here no longer remains any kind of a concern related to our instruction.
I mean, instructional needs to get well above that.
And that really turns us to, I think the question that you were asking, Sandy, is, so what else might be at play? And so we kind of want to transition into really what we think the majority of the conversation is hoping to be, and that's really opportunities that are in college credit, at Lakewood High School. And again, we're gonna go into what those different ones look like, but the first one is Running Start. So we're gonna spend very little time on Running Start because we're all pretty familiar with that. But I know Brian's gonna share a little bit of data with you on that.
Yeah, just the last part of that information sheet, we broke it down for 11th and 12th graders. So of the, for our 11th graders, there are 30 students taking Running Start classes. Some may take one, some may take two. And that is generating, the loss of 20.13 FT. So, those 30 students, reduce the FT. We'd expect to get 30 FT, 30 students, we're reducing by 20. But we're really only getting 9.87. And then in 12th grade, we have 32 students, so that reduces the FT as indicated, again, from above, 21.48. And then finally, we have 6 students in 12th grade that have only started, that's their own courses that they graduate.
So we know that, I mean, Running Start is definitely a viable option for a lot of students, and a lot of families, and so we absolutely recognize that and know that students are gonna choose that for different reasons. And we wanna kind of get to, for those who are focused on potentially earning an AA, we wanna talk a little bit more about that as we kind of get later, but in terms of other opportunities to earn, college credit, are really, the majority, the main one that so many of our students take advantage of and is really popular at Lakewood High School is College in the High School. So I think that that's what we want to spend a lot of our time talking about. So I'll turn over to Brian, talk a little about like our current credit configuration and, you know, as they earn college credits, what does that mean in terms of Lakewood High School credit?
Sure, so right now, a student takes college and high school to just 11th and 12th graders that are taking college and high school. I don't think we have any. Oh, I'm sorry. You have a couple in, in the math classes, right? But the like in English, that's all for one grade level. Right, okay, so we have a couple in pre-calc, those students are getting one, high school credit for 5 college credits. And 5 college credits comes with just a semester's worth of, college work.
For,
Go ahead, no, please.
so if, in terms of the classes offered here at the high school, some of those classes are 1 semesters or 1 quarters worth spread over the entire year,
Right,
but some are 1 quarter's worth each semester, and you still have one that's 3 quarters.
Yeah, 15 credits for a year's worth of work.
yeah, that one is, that's a unique one, that is the unique one, so. Thanks for clarifying, in general, a student can get a full credit. And a graduation requirement checked off in
Full college credit.
a full,
A
full high school credit,
And 5.
5 college credits. And that graduation requirement, say English, checked off in just 4. So that,
Yeah.
a
A semester.
a semester here, a quarter at the college. Okay, so. 90 days, we'll say 90 days, half the year. They can earn a full credit in English. So for example, 11th grade takes English. By the end of the semester, they've got their full 11th grade English requirement completed.
You said that's slightly wrong. If they
Okay.
took a quarter of English at Everett Community College, is that what you were trying to say?
No, college and high school. we're talking-
Or if they did college and high school?
Yeah, so if they were to take college into high school. Well, first semester, they get a full credit of that course.
Like English, yeah.
Like English.
Yeah.
So.
opposed to that half credit. but-
Right, so you're not in college and high school, it takes you a whole year to earn your English credit. College and high school takes an hour and a half year, with a couple of those exceptions. Do you want to elaborate on an exception that you had?
Mine,
Yeah,
first semester, our first semester, the agreement with the colleges is they earn 5 credits for history 146, and then second semester, they earn 10 credits for history 147 and 148. So in essence, if they're taking college and high school, but transfer back as 3 credits.
right, so. So what we're getting at here is we're allotting more credits to students than that are in college and high school than students that aren't for the same amount of time, which is going back to Sandy's question, why are there students that don't do one reason why students don't do all these classes here? Well, I can finish my English in 2 years, right? My graduation, so there's one class that you have to take, but
Right.
so.
I think that's beneficial to students.
It's beneficial to students in terms of being able to have more room in their schedule for more classes in their senior year. What we're seeing is they're not taking more classes, they're taking time off.
Right.
I think there's a difference. So we used to have, when I speak of the orientation, how it used to be that one credit, what it used to be, how it used to be broken up, and then now how it's.
Yeah, so it used to be that if I took an English class, can you just have a number, is it English 111?
Well, maybe calculus or pre-calc might be a better.
Okay,
Pre-calculus, math 141, math 142. Here at Lakewood High School used to be one math credit. And then they got 10 credits at Everett Community College.
They also received one elective credit.
well,
It was half and.
Yeah, and now they get 2 years of math credit at Lakewood High School for taking pre-calculus the whole year
and no way.
and no elective.
That breakdown is the important piece. So if you think of that first semester, I used to get one credit, there was a half credit of general elective and a half credit of math. And then I went to my second semester and I got a half credit elective and a half credit of math. So I still got a credit of math, which meant that I still needed to take another math class. Now, if we, a couple years ago, it got switched, and so no more of the elective, but I got a full credit of math first semester, a full credit of math second semester, which really means I might not need to take math, for example, and then that's in the year. That's a change that really, it changed the meeting of those core graduation requirements and changed the number of, how many years, like we're talking about instructional minutes and seat time, how many years kids are experiencing math, English, science, because we compressed and given more core credit. And there's so many other ways to get elective credits, right, as an advisor and things like that.
You still get the 10 credits at the college. So kind of going to your point, I think you were saying that's great that they're getting these college credits. Yes, no matter what configuration we offer here in terms of credits, they still get the same amount in college. So it's still walk away. Questions, how much do we want to offer here for the class? Do we want to offer it as elective or as 4 credit, I guess we would say. And so in looking into that, it varies again, I'll say it varies again across our region of whether districts offer like Lakewood is right now, 1 credit. For the semester class or 1 credit for a year. However, OSPI is pretty clear and just released a bulletin on September 19th that requires standardization across the state that every student that takes a 5 credit course at the college will get 1 credit high school credit. Does not say that it has to be in that content area. So part of the feedback we look to hear from others is going back to the situation where they still get a full high school credit But that would be split between elective and core credits, and or any other comments you have about, that would be the high school.
I haven't seen in math. Our kids who are continuing on in math are continuing on in math because they're going on into a technical field. I don't see them, oh, I've got all my math credits, I don't have to take another year. But I think math might be different than English, science.
I do wonder how many students who stop after pre-calculus are stopping after pre-calculus because they don't. You don't need to take more math.
We have. And usually there's those conversations of, I'm really not going into a technical field. I know I'm not. I know this can be my my last math class. And there are those kids, and absolutely, if you are not going on in math or science,
Yeah.
engineering, you can be done after pre-calc. And I think it's that conversation that Lisa and I have with the kids, but if you think maybe, then maybe.
My feeling about this is less an issue of, oh, I have all my math out of the way, I have all my English out of the way, I don't need to take more of that. So much as a, oh, I have enough credits, I don't need to take more classes of any kind. So. You know, I'm not teaching math anymore, but in science, the students who are taking physics or marine biology or chemistry, but don't have much better Francis when I talked about it. That was their third year. They only need 3 years. So, you know, the ones who are interested in taking more science will take more science. But the ones who were just, they want 3 years and they're gonna be done getting all science credit or art science and art elective.
I'd say I see a mix in the oceanography and marine biology. It's a full year class for 10 credits total. I know I've got a nice mix of juniors and seniors this year. I've got students that are taking it just because they're interested in it, not because they necessarily needed the credit. They just wanted to take the class. I've also got students that maybe didn't get previous science credit, like science 9, and they know that this route could make up for a science credit by being in the class. And then I also have students that want to go on to a university that want that additional year of science.
Which, I mean, that makes sense, and it sounds like what we want is those students who don't necessarily need it, but are filling, filling that space.
So then is it an issue of making it a requirement that they have a full schedule, even if they've met graduation requirements?
Coming up on the list, so yeah, I mean, I think that we
That's
can
where I see us going.
certainly talk about that too.
Conversation and.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm here, I don't wanna put any words in anyone's mouth, but. There's potential benefit of switching back to one half core credit for a semester. And a half elective credit, and for other kids, it's not gonna matter one way or the other. So. But ultimately, our goal would be to keep kids taking classes, right, and not have holes in their schedule. And whether we use a hammer or we use some way to pull them along.
I
try to
will,
keep all-
will add too that any student that's in a college and high school course that is not electing to get college and high school credit through EBCC or Skagit still gets the same high school credit as any other student in that class who is choosing to get that college credit. So.
And there's no fees or anything like that to get the college credit or anything like that.
I'm just interested and don't necessarily need it.
Yeah, or you might have one that needs it. And we have a process in place now, so you can't just drop my class at the semester. There's a form. It has to, be approved by a parent. have a conversation with me and get my signature, and have a conversation with Jeanette and get her signature for approval or denial. So, I think that has helped. Yeah. Yeah.
I think the other piece, which is not maybe so much a numerical element or even kind of a number of classes, there's also a piece of, you know, what do we want to make sure all of our kids have before they leave, right? And I just think of learning, like learning does take time, right? And I think when we're talking about the discussion of if you need, 4 years of English, right? And like, all 4 credits. If I took a college and high school class as a junior, I wouldn't need to take it as a senior, right? Are we comfortable? Do we think that that's the preparation that we've intended for every child to take? Right? And I think that those are also some of those questions, just in terms of, what do we feel like we owe to our students and to our families in terms of preparing them for that next phase, whatever that looks like, right? And so I think that to me is also kind of that, because there's all kinds, I think there's also some of these courses come in a lot of different varieties, right? And when you have more students, we think, I see, English credit can come in any number of ways, right? In drawing, creative writing, and then so what are the ways that we actually, can create those, some of those, enhanced ones of opportunities for kids?
Well, in some ways, I think we've set the paradigm, we've set students up for this. And I think that we can set them up else, in another way as well. So, that's why this conversation is important.
I don't feel like it's a rush to go to graduation.
Right.
Yes, her hand up.
She can talk, I don't
Oh, yeah, I just didn't want to interrupt. Can you hear me okay? Oop. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, this is a topic that I have, I guess, probably a lot of opinions, but a lot of like different experience. I agree with what Erin just said, having kids that I love college and high school. I think it is such an amazing program that we can get these kids free credits. They can stay at the high school. I think it's spectacular. I think that there's some like hurdles, and some of them are difficult because I suppose you guys know this way better than I do, but just even like with the master schedule and how like I think of the reasons that my kids went outside of the high school to go directly through Running Start or something like that. They would have preferred to stay at the high school, but the schedules didn't line up where they could, take their foreign language or with band or, different things like that. Or maybe we suddenly had a problem with like getting, I don't know whether it was the instructor or different problems where all of a sudden a class that we expected to give credit suddenly didn't. And so then they left to get them. But it's also very difficult, even with kids that are very like on a college bound track, if they have the option to not take a class and still check all the boxes for where they want to apply to school, to tell them they should take a class anyway, optionally. I did not have much success with that. But I also believe that we kind of do shortchange them if they're not going to school for half the class periods a day their senior year, and then suddenly they're going to college where it's already a big shock because expectations are really high. They've got a lot to manage, that they're just not as prepared. It's difficult to jump in the deep end when you've been kind of taking it easy and you had your foot off the gas your senior year. So I mean, I think I'm just saying what you were all saying, but that's definitely my experience. And I know those are kind of big hurdles sometimes, with being a small school and be able to offer some classes enough so that kids don't have those scheduling conflicts, or, making sure that we have staff that can offer the college, and so we can, offer as many college and the high school classes as we want. I don't know if that's going into our hiring decisions, but those are just kind of my thoughts.
I'm also curious about if there's potential for I mean, you do make a good point, but if I'm a 17-year-old kid and I can sleep in for 2 hours in the morning. Or families that might think my child can be done at school at noon and go get a job, help pay for things. And then so if we are making it a full day requirement, but Arlington doesn't. Potentially would we lose students that be like, I've got my credits technically, I can change and go to Arlington and do these do these things. Is there a chance we'd lose students that way? Does that make sense? I don't know.
I think, no, it makes sense. I think we have to explore. I mean, I think in those kind of examples, I mean, one of them is we haven't been doing the change in how we do college and high school credits has only been for a couple of years. So it's not like deeply entrenched into our practice, right? I mean, if we went back to an elective and it would not be, it would be like, we talked about the middle school. For this graduation cohort, it's like this, right? It'd be like a little bit. I think also, Dawn, some of those pieces that I know that, like the example you gave of work, I know is something that Lynn's, been looking into, like work-based learning is a way where students can go during the day and lead and go and be engaged in their work. And I think that there's different ways that we're looking, how can we grow that program? But part of growing that program is having the students here to have the numbers to drive the growth of that program. So when we lose more kids, it's hard to add more things because we don't have the FTE unless we target from something. We no longer do something else they were doing, right? But if we have the students come back and we can go, wow, well, let's try and, do some work-based learning and do that. So all of a sudden you have more students who have more needs, so then you're able to diversify. And so I do think that, there's part of it is making sure that whatever we're doing is of interest to students and families as we take all this into consideration.
Can I add two things? We have work experience currently where students can enroll and receive credit for working. They have to submit their pay stubs. The state increased the hour requirement from 90 hours a semester, which is what our seat time is, to 180 hours a semester. So we almost impossible. It's gonna be impossible for some of our kids to meet 180-hour requirement in those 90 days with knowing that they're in a full schedule, right? So they have one open period, it's called work experience, they're earning credit. So that has been a barrier for some of our kids to earn that credit. So now they're gonna probably fail the class, or we have to drop them from the class, which then is no FTE. So there's some things that are out of our control that have been put in place for work experience. And then I would also check on the flip side, similar to your question, Don, on the flip side is we will have some students that will say, well, if I can go to Running Start and get a full credit of English or a quarter of English, or a full credit of math or a quarter of math, and I can go take 3 classes there, right, for a quarter and earn 3 high school credits and then 3 more classes, we could see potentially an increase in our Running Start numbers, which then would. So I want to throw all of that out there because some of this is out of our control. We have an increase in numbers. I would agree with Dana. I mean, I the one that does the master schedule, and it's very difficult in a school our size to not have conflicts with singletons, as the people that are sitting here well know, especially when you have music, band, things that kids are really invested in, and some of our students are in band and choir, so that takes 2 periods already. And then if they have to take math, English, social studies, and science for 10th and 11th grade, that's already taken up. So by the time they get to junior year, like, I want to take these other classes, or I have to take these other classes, where do I go? Because I can't take calculus because it's at the same time as jazz band. So there's pieces of that are, that we just have to keep in mind when we're having this discussion.
So to kind of go along with that last thought that Jeanette just had, which is a concern of, do one thing, other dominoes fall in a way we didn't expect. There are some ways that I think we can mitigate that and kind of slow down any of that concern, and one of those is the possibility of offering an AA at Lakewood High School. So the students do stay, they don't just sit here and go take Running Start from their homes, right? So Jeanette, can you share with us where we are in terms of the possibility of offering an AA here?
Sure. So I did a little crosswalk over the summer and put the current classes that we can offer college and high school credit for and set it alongside Everett Community College's AA. We were really close to getting there. We had there's a 5 credit diversity course that they need for an AA that we could, designate one of our courses as the diversity course, and then there's a 2 credit, college course that is waived for students that take college and high school credit, so those were kind of taken care of. And then, as I went through and kind of put where our classes are, we are like five credits away from that, from a student being able to earn an AA. The difficulty is the schedule itself means that an 11th grader would have to take AP English, AP Lang, pre-calc, they could take it in 10th grade, and they could take it in 11th grade, honors US. For all of the 15 credits, US history, chemistry, or marine biology. We are not allowed, we're not able to offer chemistry for college and high school this year because our teacher switched. The teacher who was offering college and high school retired, so the new teacher hasn't qualified for that. Spanish 3-4 if it runs, the ASL 3-4 if we get college and high school credit for that. And then there's a 5 credit course we need to add, which is either English 101 or COM 220. But then in 12th grade, they would have to take AP Lit, Calc, or AP Stats, Honors Gov for 10 credits, Physics or something else, AP Stats, and elective. So there's no room for like music, band, any of that stuff, or any electives. It's a pretty packed schedule. So if there was opportunities for 10th graders, take some of those classes. So you can see it can be done. We just have to figure out how we can make that schedule work. And again, have kids see, oh, we can do this here, but this is what it's gonna look like. So there's some work to be done around it, but I mean, we can, and I also know that we're having some hiccups with EDCC. So now we have to work with Skagit Valley because their supervisor at EDCC left, they didn't find a new supervisor for the government office.
I'm not sure that the supervisor left, but just wouldn't articulate the class.
Yeah.
Another, we've been 5 credits short before in the past. And Everett Community College, we had an instructor that could offer the English class here and was willing to do that. Everett Community College wouldn't sign off on it. And I don't know whether it was political, financial, or whatever, or all of those. That, so offering, we can do it.
Yeah.
But whether or not we can get a college to sign off on allowing us to offer an AA here.
And do you know, do they do it for other high schools or don't they?
Yes.
Not to be, it's not much to do Arlington or Stanley, any of our local schools have those programs.
They do not. And Brian and I had the opportunity to attend a meeting at EDCC this fall that was for all the district partners that they serve. And it was, I think the focus of the meeting, their intention for inviting us is not the focus we ended up spending time discussing at the meeting. I have to just kind of go. I think they were looking at how do we continue to increase numbers of high schoolers accessing at the college. And I think what we saw is we have the highest percentage of students leaving our high school to go to Running Start than any other one in our region that they serve. So we have the most. What we shared is we're not coming to the table asking to reduce that. If students make that choice, we respect that absolutely. What we are saying is we are also growing a robust college and high school program, and we need you to reciprocate that same partnership. And we are interested in having a conversation where we can get an AA in our high school, not trying to draw students back. If they choose to come back, that's great. But we want to offer this here and we would like you to partner with us. The president of the university was there along with a number of their members, and they did verbally in front of all the group make a commitment to have those conversations about looking at how to make that possible. So, I mentioned it with the other superintendent group in Snohomish County, and I said, I think that we need to, lean into this now, why they publicly declared their willingness to have that conversation. And so Brian and I've talked about, after having this conversation and hearing from our staff, if there remains an interest, pursuing that with some energy.
Well, it seems their issue is fundamentally they're losing students.
They want to pay more.
They would potentially, they want to keep and
also
get
our
more.
situation.
Signing off
Yeah.
would mean that would.
There is a question of pull here,
Yeah.
and I think that their intentions are as good as our intentions, they just have a different
Yeah, there's
way
people
to get
who
their
right?
intentions, because I think they see that students taking Running Start by their instructors is serving those students in a way that our students taking Carlton High School with our instructors is not, and we see it the opposite way as well, right?
Right.
We rather have our kids here, and we
Right.
care about it, right, than have them off there. And so yeah, we are, I actually got an email ready to go to talk to the dual credit, person, get a meeting together with myself, Jeanette. And Aaron and Lynn, and sit down and let's talk to the city. So. Any other comments on that, or just keeping time? At our board.
I think we are seeing a culture shift with our students realizing that if they're sitting in a class here, that they're getting more help. And then in turn, they actually, when they went to college, like, there was an example with my son at Gonzaga, he sat through fellows chemistry, and he did very well at chemistry 101 whatever, the first year of chemistry at Gonzaga, and there was another kid who took the Everett Community College chemistry and didn't do well. So that has now come back, like, oh, if you sit in the high school class, you do better when you go to college. Some of the better colleges versus. So there is kind of that culture shifting, like, oh, well, I sat with Noward's physics class and I got through physics at, Gonzaga, it paid off. So I am seeing that articulate down to the kids, and I've heard kids repeat that. Our juniors and seniors, I've heard that from them, like, oh, no, I don't wanna take that. I wanna take it here, cause I'll do better when I go to college.
And I would, say that it's a parent education piece, the difference between Running Start in college and high school, because parents don't have access to attendance grades, anything, they treat our high school students like college students at Everett. Because they're Running Start, and so they could fail a class and parents wouldn't even know that they failed the class until after it's too late, then they come back and then they have to retrieve that credit here, so. I failed English 101 at UVCC, now I'm back, now I'm entering an English 12 class. And I'm a quarter into, right, they're starting in December. And now they're that far behind in our class, so if there's a little bit of a disconnect, so at our spring course fair, when we do a Running Start session, and we talk about college and high school, so just trying to educate parents on the choice they need to make.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
I guess,
No, go
is
ahead.
this a place, I know we don't have, I feel real strongly about keeping kids here as long as we can. And offering the credits and so forth, but also for the social part. Are the kids that we're losing are leaders in our field. And so our best and brightest are here all the time and walking up and down the hallways of a high school. When best and brightest are gone, now the example is not there, and for younger students. And those best and brightest, for lack of a better term, they don't feel the impact that they can have in their school. So I think it's really important that whatever we choose, that maybe is one of our foundations as well.
So, last part here, and fortunately, there were a lot of questions during, so I don't know, we'll need a lot of time at the end. Is the possibility of changing some of the expectations, requirements of our schedule for our students. So probably at this, as of today, this year, students may elect to have less than six classes, as you saw in the data, all the way down to none. Really, those six kids that are on start data. But one of the ways that this try to schedule is so that if they have an open period, the class they can only need 4 credits, it's to do it at the beginning or end of the day. So possibly one of the considerations would be to eliminate that ability to have an open period at the beginning or at the end of the day or both. That's something that they could about this talk about it more.
Is that, I'm hearing this right, does that force them to
Yeah, most kids will not wanna have leave and then come back, which is,
Yeah, we
Part
actually,
two.
we don't want them to.
yeah,
Right.
which is part two to this, is currently we. Yeah, we do, and we do currently have students that have an open period in the middle of the day, and we're struggling with that, and I think that we're farther along in terms of making that a clear expectation. Supervision, safety, all of those reasons, and we have kids here that are not generating enough tea, and so we therefore don't have staff to work with during that time, so we are making ground on that area, I would say for sure. And then the last part is considering how long we have, after, the semester starts to let kids drop classes. And, I'm not sure, is it just, it's open right now and wherever it is, like, if it's after a week, 2 weeks.
First 3 days of school and the first week of second semester is when we can make schedule changes if it's a displacement. They have an open period or they didn't get a class schedule that they need to have scheduled. And then if there's somebody that wants to drop a class later in the quarter or the semester, there's a process that we go through particularly around our AP and college and high school classes. And we've had a lot of conversations with the counselors that if the kids are coming in wanting to drop a class, if that's a conversation with the parent and an administrator about the perfect, like why. Some kids get really savvy and they're like, oh, well, they can find any excuse until it's just about their lunch schedule, right? They can't change their, and so. just let me do it
What period is advisory?
Right after second period.
Oh, okay.
There's an additional period on advisory days.
Okay. I have a quick question about when we're talking about the percentages of like our current, like 11th graders, 23 students, 12th graders, 60 students. Is that a lot higher than like Stanford or Maryville? Do we even know where we fall?
I
in
don't know,
percent
but I
right
can-
there?
I'll certainly find out, but this is an ongoing conversation, and I know.
And that's a typical, like, this doesn't change over the last few years.
No, as I said, it's been
It's-
about 60 for the last 3 years that I've looked at. Since I've been involved in that.
And then my one last other question was about the 2 credit pathway that we offered at the high school. Is that what it's called? 2 credit pathways for kids that need to graduate?
So we offer 2
Waiver.
credits waiver.
Yeah.
State program.
Okay, that's not just us. How many kids on average do we have? Is it like, oh, I'm in my senior year and I just realized this is my only way out?
It is very individualized. I don't waive a lot of credits for
Okay.
kids at the end of the year and it's usually an elective, it's not a core.
Okay,
But if you have a kid who's on track all the way through senior year and something happens. I mean, we have family emergencies, we have illness, we have, broken legs and surgeries. And there's like a half a credit or a credit if they're shy to graduate and it's an elective and I can waive it out of the way there. But it's not advertised to kids.
That's what I
It's
was
not.
And
Oh,
actually,
yeah, we definitely do that, yeah.
yeah, that's to be intent. So you can't just walk in January and say, hey, give me that credit, I'm out of here. And
They don't
I
know
can
it's not-
try and. Yeah.
okay.
Well, sorry to end the conversation short, we have 1 minute till our next meeting starts, and so I think we are. At the end of this conversation, is there any final wrap up?
No, thank you so much. Thank you for your expertise, your time and your commitment. We really appreciate it and wanted to have a full picture of what we're.
Thank you, we appreciate all this information and the ongoing conversation. With that, our next meeting starts at 6 p.m. in a minute, and you're. Okay. Are we ready? All right, well, good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and call to order the November 5th regular scheduled board meeting. With that, we will go ahead and begin with the pledge of allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have acknowledgement read by Emily Escalante, the office students here, they're also signing the pledge of allegiance and acknowledge that for us today.
We honor and respect that we gather on the ancestral lands of the Squamish people and the Squamish people and their successors, the Toledo tribes. This is the land where they have lived since time immemorial. They're still here today, where they work, raise their children, and care for their community. They continue to practice their traditions and speak the Lushootseed Sioux language just as their ancestors did. May each of our children find their peace and contribute to their communities and families. Together we will make this world a better for our children.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I do want to call out that this meeting is being recorded and will be available for public viewing on Board Docs, through the school district website and the school board page. And Director Krueger is participating remotely via Zoom this evening, and it is online. And with that, we have the approval of the regular meeting agenda, which is an action item.
Make a motion to approve the regular board meeting then?
Agenda.
Or you know,
With that, I second.
All right, any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passed. Thank you. And resignation of guests request to be heard in public comment. We appreciate community members' willingness to share public comments with the board. The board recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of involving members of the public in its meetings. In order to permit fair and orderly expression of such comment, the board will provide a period at the beginning of the meeting during which visitors present to the board. The time allowed is 3 minutes. The board respectfully requests that comments be relevant, appropriate, and not be personally directed. Do we have anyone signed up to provide in-person public comment? Okay. To limit disruption made in a timely public comment portion of the meeting, we require virtual attendees who wish to make a public comment to pre-register online prior to the board meeting. Complete the online form found on the school board page of the district's website by 3 p.m. on the meeting date. Has anyone signed up to provide remote public comment? No, thank you. And next we have peak performers, Jen Pressman and Jessica Bader, presented by Christina Anderson.
We would come forward?
Yes. Oh, that's the podium up here. Thank you.
No problem.
I don't- give us any glasses.
Well, this is any other time too.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yes. Hopefully, we're still on. Perfect. Want to say something?
I truly don't know what I do.
Sure, when you.
Okay, so my son Calvin is in 6th grade at LMS in the CSP classroom, and he participated in sports for the very first time this fall. And these two amazing women did the most terrible thing I could possibly imagine doing with a student. They ran multiple miles, many days in all kinds of weather. They helped him finish every single one of his races, and he was so proud and joyful every single time. And we just, our family is so thankful. He would not have been able to participate without you two. And it was a really, really, really big deal for us. So I got you Lego flowers. Appreciate you so much. And the whole athletic team, everybody, Miss Winter, everybody was so accommodating and the coaches were wonderful. But these two had to run, so.
We just wanted to, so as peak performers, just recognize that commitment that you're making, not just, you know, to like whatever you do for the individual lives of our kids, right? And I think that, it's a great opportunity to kind of highlight that those acts that you are doing of service, just they have a profound impact on that trajectory for that student and that family. To feel that they are able to experience and be involved in anything that they set their heart and their mind to. So thank you for your contribution and for the work that you do each day, and really, I think for touching a life and a family in a way that has really just kind of opened up a new world. So thank you so much. And I just need to. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're gonna go down the line and shake any hand. Christina, you're gonna be able to. Got it. And we're gonna put you right in the middle and we're gonna take a picture.
I'm gonna hold behind you, Dustin.
Right up front.
I'm getting honor. I'll get there. I'm short.
Thank you, and thank you for the impact that you have on our students each and every day. It's great to recognize that. Item on the agenda is consent agenda. I did also want to mention, if anyone can hear the comment section, you are by all means welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you would like to. There's on anyone else that wants to do so. It's supported. Yeah. Thank you. Next item will be the agenda, consent agenda, the expedite board business, or the school board meeting, the board proceeds the consent agenda, which includes those items that are considered to be routine in nature. Any board member may request to have an item removed if they so choose. With that, this is an action item.
I move for the approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimously passed. Thank you. All right, and now we move into our administrative report, starting with student report.
So Ruby's not here today, so I'm gonna start by reading hers. Crude Creek's ASB fundraiser exceeded their goal of 14,500. This money is gonna go towards field trips as well as, in addition to prizes, 54 students will be going on a field trip to Arena Sports in Linwood soon. Tyson Human, their PE teacher, who's also a very popular teacher, will be silly stringed by the top 10 earners at their recognition assembly this Friday. PTA Penny Wars fundraiser starts this week as well. Classes compete against each other for prizes and students fill buckets from other grade levels with money. The grade level with the least amount of money in the bucket wins. One of the activities that the Heritage and Culture Group supports is books being read in classrooms that support the monthly themes such as Hispanic History Month, Disability Awareness Month, and etc. This year, 5th grade students will serve as readers. Teacher will still facilitate the conversation focusing on the books theme. They also have the Veterans Day Assembly this Thursday. Miss Ross and their music teacher has been working with 3 to 5 students, building the performance, and community members have been invited. It's constantly an outstanding for them. And then at LMS last week was conferences, and they had lots of parents on campus to meet with teachers, which was fantastic. They are now on their 2nd season of sports, girls soccer and boys basketball, and they'll hold their Veterans Day Assembly the morning of Tuesday. And Ruby also wanted to add that girls soccer finally made it to district for the first time in 8 years. Awesome. At LES, they had a visit from their literary consultants, and they spent 2 days going into classrooms at each grade level and modeling quick small group instruction. During their WIN, which stands for What I Need intervention time, teachers all walked away with immediate strategies they could use the next day. Their school celebrated Unity Day, celebrating standing up against bullying. Staff and students were encouraged to wear orange, and all their class groups have been engaged in teaching the anti-bullying unit from 2nd step. Teachers have enjoyed connecting with each family during conference week, and they have really strong attendance by all their families. They've had their first writing celebration of the year. Students met with their buddies, classroom levels to share their writing from their first unit. These cross-grade level partnerships are a strong way to support the learning community. From high school, we had our first rep assembly meeting today, and for the attendance, only 2 people were missing. So Big step up from last year, we have the food drive that starts on November 12th. The last football game is Friday, and then basketball tries start the 17th.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next item is superintendent report.
All right, so good evening. It's always fun to, again, I feel like, one of the things that just kind of fills my cup, not that I don't enjoy all of my meetings, but I think really, I love spending time in our schools and just seeing, our kids and our staff, just, learning and connecting and just those relationships. So, I actually have on these two slides, I have some different photos from each one of our elementaries that I got in the last week or so that I thought were kind of fun. So, to start off at LES, students were working on their writing, and I have to say, so this is a first grader, and she had the whole kind of writing workshop set up. She had her little divider, she had different cues, and she was going to working on writing her story, and it was lovely as you sit down, each one of them and started talking about the progression of their story and where they're going to go next and how they're going to build that and how they're illustrating it. So it's fun to see even some of our younger students just really leaning excited about that writing process. And then, of course, the seasonal artwork that is displayed all across our schools is always so fun to see. At CCE, was able to spend time in one of our the smaller group instruction area, and then also visited the second grade where they were working on some of their kind of literary work as well. What's also, I think, so just strong instruction and fun to see is when we visit classrooms and I'm often with the principal, I'm stopping and asking students like, so tell me about what you're learning. And not only are they excited to say kind of like what the topic is, and then they're like, so what does that mean? And to have them kind of verbally explain, well, this is what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And so this student had a great conversation with her, and she was kind of walking me through what she was working on and what it meant and how she was kind of moving through. So also as at Cougar Creek, we've been talking about, and I see Alex here as well, the installation of the new fence. So that, so the levy dollars are hard at work there, and we have the taller fence going in, so the areas that previously had fence, such as around kind of that kindergarten play area, it had a lower fence, now it has a higher fence. And then it kind of wraps around, it goes down the length of the building. As we talked about, there'll be some multiple entry points, some are sliding gates that allow for ease of flow between drop off, and then some are actually those just one person gates that will open during more community usage time when we don't want people to have as great of access, but still have access. And that goes the length of the building. Obviously, we already have fencing along the back, and then we have a natural wetland on the side that does not necessitate fencing. And then we have the field here. So we have kind of those different connection points. So they're finishing that up. We're waiting on, I think, the last couple of gates and some things to be, because everything has to be fabricated at the unique location. So I'm excited to have that in, and definitely know that was really something that was wanted by staff and families there, and so definitely a lot of good feedback on that. As referenced by Amelia, we had Unity Day in October, and English Crossing does a phenomenal job of celebrating Unity Day every year. It is not that others don't, but I feel like it is something that is pervasive across their school. And so I happened to walk in on Unity Day, and in front of their English Crossing Railroad sign, they actually had these little chains that had been met where students were talking about their commitment to agriculture that was against bullying, and they've been looped as chains around the school. And so that was kind of fun. October, as we finish up, was Principal Appreciation. And so when I was visiting with Principal Cortez, one of the, I think it was Miss Cook's first grade classroom, actually made a poster, and each one talked about a good principal always gave little notes of appreciation to Principal Cortez, which it really means a lot. So especially when it comes from our students. And then as we transitioned and we were at English Crossing, was able to spend time. And so this was a math lesson. So we'll kind of walk around and see our students engaged in the math instruction. And it's great. It's great to hear the student discourse too. So a lot of conversations that are happening as students are engaging in their math and talking with one another and a learning partner. And then again, the student artwork. And so, kind of students where they do like a little bit of self-portrait in there, and then they talk about what they enjoy. Wanted to highlight again our first special meeting of the year with Arlington School Board. I think that's a really impactful and great process that has been created, and just really good conversation. And I think a great opportunity to spend time with our neighboring district and really talk about issues that impact both of us and ways that we can kind of build that that community even stronger together. We had a busy week. We also went to the legislative forum. Thank you to our entire board for being present. That was outstanding. And so as we kind of stayed around and talked, we had an opportunity to connect with some of those legislators. So you see Representative Peslick there. And then we kicked off Cougar Cabinet for the year. So we are so lucky to have 5 fabulous high school facilitators. So we have, again, 2 coming back this year. Amelia and Riley have done it before. I know that Brian and I really enjoy working with you and as we do the planning and preparing for that. And so I love that picture to the side as well, where we had 2 high schoolers. We were playing this would you rather game, this kind of ways with an icebreaker. And so each one of our high school facilitators had like a comment like, would you rather do this or this? And then students moved side to side. But then you need to talk to someone who's near you about why you chose that. So I love this picture because you have some of our upperclassmen talking to someone, a 4th grader, about like, well, why did you pick that? So just these authentic conversations that build those, I think build that community and the leadership skills as well. So as we look at this month, it is, we start to get into the season where there are a few more breaks in the calendar than there are in the first couple months. And so obviously we had our board meeting and study session tonight. Next Tuesday, we have Veterans Day and celebration and recognition of service of, those in the armed forces. We have key communicator group number 1 is coming up. So Director Gotts has a group coming next, very soon next week. Then we have a school board meeting the following week, right before we go to WASDA. So we have the school directors conference. And then we have, and then that was actually one month, the 23rd. That was last month. So that does not belong there. November observances, we have National School Psychology Week this week. We had election day on Tuesday when we know that elections are not certifiable. And we were able to see that it looks like we have some information on where those stand. Veterans Day, we have Substitute Educators Day on the 21st, Thanksgiving, and then Native American Heritage Day on the 28th. And November is also Native American Heritage Month. Great, thank you. That report. Alright. Next item on the agenda is business for 2024-25 with the graduation data.
Thanks, Renee. Good evening. I want to share the class of 2025 graduation data for Lakewood High School, as well as in context with previous years. So you'll see here that for the 4-year graduation rate for the class of 2025, it's 77.5% of the students met graduated. These are adjusted cohort graduation groups. So those students, of the students that did graduate and those that did not, may or may not have started with us in 9th grade. Most did, and most were with us from 9th to 12th grade, but it's an adjusted number. So as students move into our district, they become part of that number and it gets adjusted. As students move out of our district and enroll and attend a high school graduation bearing program, they would then be subtracted from our cohort number. So that's where the adjustment goes. And I was very careful about the way I said that. They have to go to another program that offers a high school certificate graduation certificate diploma. They can go to work-based learning program, just those that are giving bonus. Move them outside of that. Cool. So as you see, there's not a 5-year cohort yet, because those kids are here right now. This year, but again, in context of previous years, we do see that those students that continue with us will generally earn their diploma as you see the darker green bar to higher. And relatively stable between the 80 and the 90s. So students. So this is the data behind this, and some folks taking a look at this, I think, to understand, what that graduation rate means for us, in the class of 2025. So over the time that from 9th to 12th grade, that class of 2025, we ended up with 391. They're adjusted for what's now, so that it would include the students that moved in or out. And again, we're getting high school going program. Our dropout count was 29, and what that means is that we either did not finish the program, the student diploma program with us, or we don't know where they, or they joined a program that does not provide that student diploma. Issues, so that issues that would drop out as well. Getting things like GED or something, or just going to put.
We generally track. Do we track?
Yes. Yep. So, yes, you are, you were really one step ahead of me all right tonight, that's awesome. We should do this together. Yeah, we should do this together, because what I was gonna say is that of those 29 that we want to track, we're only trying to do. So of those 12, they're either the GED program, open doors, but did not finish it. So open doors will lead to a high school diploma, but they didn't finish this year, so this is part of our cohort. Doors is the program. Participate in stands or students. But 17 of those students are where they are at this time, like the definition or education. That's what it's like.
That seems like a high number here.
I think if you look at the data over time, we're seeing an increase in the number of students in dropout, and also seeing increasing the number of students who are.
When they go to drop out, do we, I'm assuming there's conversation about, but is there one thing that sticks out? That we know why the numbers in the season over 70 months?
Yeah, and Jeanette, with these, compared to asking questions about specific situations, I'm not generally. Those notes are so good, but she didn't share more. Student by student information. Could you ask the question?
And can you explain continuing count? Yeah, so continuing count will include any student who comes back as a fifth year senior. So we have kids that just can't finish in 4 years. And that could be a choice. It could be that there was a family emergency and they had to leave for a semester and come back. Or so that's a good in their life happened. It could also be where it's a student receiving special education services and we have extended their graduation date for them. Also the students that go into our transition program, which is our 18-year-old to 22-year-old program, so they're students in our CSP class, they actually count against us as a dropout, even though they are in our program, because they don't get their diploma, they walk, and then they go to transition, and down the transition program, they get their diploma, so they would be in our 5-year, 6-year, 7-year graduation.
So they continually help or drop out.
Continuing.
So then the continuing, okay.
So, but it's so if you look at the dropout count and continuing count, those two together make up that 22.5% that we're missing, so. You can see 15 kids, we know exactly where they are because they're the us here in high school. And of the dropout count, 8 of them are at open doors. We have a handful that are in the GED program, a few of them have the job corps and just haven't finished. So again, if they should have not 4 years, they're considered our dropout. It's probably just 12, like 12 to 15. That we either can get a hold of the family to see who they are, and some are just like they're sitting on video games.
Don had a question too. I'm sorry.
I just want to make the point, no, yeah, one is the meeting. That's a lot, yeah, to try and understand more about, because it feels kind of counterintuitive that when you have a student's individualized education plan, where the, you know, the education professionals and the families have designed that program of studies of that student that would have continuing, you know, education potentially up to 22. That, you know, that's the needs of that student, they're doing well, but that does count as, for us, it's not completely unfair, it counts against our graduation rate, so. We push on that because that doesn't feel equitable, it doesn't feel in alignment with designing educational programs. Right?
They know something, right? It wasn't fair.
Fair, and so I think that so I think it's important that we do recognize that as a piece that as we do meet, I mean. While we're gonna do things that are in service of the students that we have the honor of serving. And I wanna recognize that that might not show favorably on one data point, but we know this much, right? So I think that that's an important piece. I think the other one is, I just wanted to make a note that dropout count, I think gives the impression of literally that the student was with us and in the longer attended. I just wanna kind of say that I look at dropout count, yes, it could be. They chose, you know, to do a different pathway. But truly, a lot of them are what we consider unconfirmed transfers. And so they're a student who was here in ninth grade and then said, we're moving to, I'm saying Arizona. And, Arizona, and then we never received records. The family's like, we're moving to Arizona, we never received records. That counts against us at June of 2025. That they did not ever request records, and those were, because until we basically toggle those records to a receiving agency, if they're in the state of Washington, we can find them, but if they leave the state of Washington, we don't know where they go, and we can't get someone to pick up the phone or confirm or say they went there, now they're in that group.
So that's part of it, that they're part of that dropout.
Yes.
And then,
Be part of 17. Well, we know what's going on and they're all progressing towards the high school. 17. And I think Dawn had a question that I couldn't answer.
I was just curious if is there a big jump in use when the kids talk to them before we choose to drop out?
Sometimes they don't talk to us, right? They just stop showing up. They are unenrolled after 20 days of non-consecutive attendance. And we don't hear from them, or we reach out, we don't get a call back. You know, I looked through the list of kids that didn't graduate from class of 2025, and I can tell you exactly what happened and when it happened in their ninth grade year, 10th grade year. And there's a handful of them that, you know, they were freshmen when they came back from COVID. A handful of them that just stopped coming back to grade year. One of them has children right now, right? Like, so things happen and they don't come back to school. And so as we go through and then, you know, we heard that so-and-so moved to Texas and try and call family to get that confirmation. But it is reactionary. So this year, we have already looked at the class of 2026, all of the unconfirmed transfers that we know from 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade, and have already been identifying where are these students at. There's 21 on our list, and I think 5 are changed to a confirmed transfer. So it's, we don't always have the ability to do that ahead of time. And so it becomes like, where can we find these people? We have the data by October 1st, and I think this year, so we don't always get it like that. But like one of the students from this cohort is enrolled in WAVA, which is an online school through the state. So if they earn their diploma, they will be in our 4 or 5, 6 or 7 cohort that are considered dropout. We did have one student who left and just only needed 2 credits. Didn't finish, and so, but they weren't elective credits, it wasn't like we paid them. We got a hold of her and she wants to in fact finish her 2 credits, not 5 here. So it's all individual conversations. I would say so far this year. The GED completion program has come up more than I heard with our students at probably second grade. It's not just for this class, but and the family is on board. I have 2 older kids with their GED. I did my GED. This is where we are. And it's hard to counsel a family out of a decision like that.
your those, with an that's just small. It's not a lot. Oh, they would be in the continuing, or the continuing, right? Yeah.
Well, just the ones that are state, the past.
Right, so there's 20,
So,
21 year old.
so more of the students that, more intellectual disabilities, right? For those with learning disabilities and things like that, they would factor into the problem. So not every student would stay till 22 either.
Right. So that's not a big amount. No, so in the continuing count, you're looking at our students in the transition program and our fifth year seniors that want to. So those in transition are approximately many for this class. Yeah. I would have to, oh, sorry, no, they're all different ages, so I don't remember at last year's class, but do they roll into continuing education, like those possibly that's going into their next year is still in that continuing conference week that you're in now. They're not in, so they're in their cohort count, so they're not staying. And I will believe that would be the 7th year. Second graduation rate, 2020.
The only way the cohort count would change between the years. Used to be say. 2 points, Sandy, I had. Do have a breakdown, a little bit of. I'll by number, but by percentage of some demographic information about the students that, graduation rate and, for example, students on an IEP or students who receive IEP services, our graduation rate is much lower. It's 50% right now with that. Students on 504 is the same graduation rate. Two more races, 68%. Multilingual learners, 61%, low income, 69%, and Black or African American, 71%. So you see that there are certain demographic groups that are at a lower rate than that graduation rate as well. So
And
to keep in
has
mind,
that-
consider.
Has that changed dramatically over the years?
No.
Yeah, so,
No, it hasn't. But, our hope would be makes progress in
Yeah.
all of those areas, as well as for all of our students. Absolutely. I think that one of the systems that Jen's talking about putting in place in terms of getting the information about where students are when they stop coming to school and doing it in that timeframe when it's happening. Has one, the ability for us to kind of make sure our data is accurate, and then two, we're more likely to re-engage if we are following up right away rather than saying, hey, they don't know who they are. Yeah, we'll get to it then, or that, so having the system in place, we're constantly reassessing where we are, sometimes that's what.
I think you've done a great job of that over the last several years, because I remember when we didn't have that. So, yeah.
And I just wanna add in that right now, it sounds, I know that Jeanette and her team, like you said, you're calling on the class of 2026. And they'll keep working that, but the intention is to then go to the class of 2027, who are current juniors, and go, okay, so who are we missing from 9th and 10th grade? So the goal is, I think, across this year, which is a huge lift, right? So she and her team are building a system this year to say, we wanna try and find out where everybody
Yeah.
is, so that moving forward, we're trying to go, who did we still not find? And who are we catching up in the year that we're losing them? So.
So it'll be a lot this year. Right.
And then just out of curiosity, just because my brain works in a not good way, when we talk about the kids that have disappeared, for lack of a better word. It bothers me, that's not on us, that there's just not a system in place. That should be reported to somebody and somebody should be doing something about it. I get it's not on us, but how long do you continue to try to find? Do we try for a year? Do we stop? Do we try 6 times? I'm just curious what that number is.
Yeah, so typically we would try until we can adjust this and exhaust all of our possibilities.
Yeah.
right? It's, if we can't get a hold of the family, we would go to like the next people in line and emergency contact.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't hear back at all.
Yeah.
The goal moving forward is we're gonna get a hold of everybody in south of 2026 and move forward, and we can keep trying because we have more time to do that. Funny story though, ironically, yesterday I was talking with my team, I told Brian that's right. About the class of 2026, and one of the students was on there. Oh, I haven't seen us since freshman year, and I remember blah, 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 and he showed up today, like out of the blue, walked in the building. I was like, what? This is crazy. I was just talking about you yesterday, but has a family, married, baby, the whole thing.
Wow.
And wants to get his GED because he wants to get a job, and the job told him you have to do a GED program, so I signed off on it. But it's, you kind of manifest that stuff out there, and then all of a sudden people are showing up, so, and that's a celebration, because
Yeah.
now he isn't
Sure.
lost and we don't know
Yes.
where he is, we
Yeah.
know exactly where he is. And not necessarily what, he didn't get his diploma, but he is productive and happy and out there, and we know. And so I think moving forward, we're gonna be able to have multiple attempts instead of just one attempt and waiting for someone to call back. And I think I would add that the 20-day consecutive non-attendance is very difficult for us at the high school, because we drop them. We call the family and say they're being dropped. We send a letter that says, students at school age have to be here. And if they wanna re-enroll, I just meet with them, like, how can we make it better? Do we have to do an attendance plan? What can we help to make, have you be successful in school? But if we don't hear back from the family, they're gone. So then we have to remember who that was, have a system of tracking, call back and say, hey, are you ready to re-engage? If you don't want to be here, do you want an online program? What can we help you with? Where does your child? So that's the next piece of that follow-up.
Are there still legal like ramifications for parents?
It has come back, the truancy petition, we have an attendance process in our district around, sending out 3-day letters, 5-day letters, 7-day letters. At 10 days, we have to do a WARNS assessment, which is an at-risk needs assessment of why kids aren't coming to school. Families are invited to the community engagement board, which has morphed a little bit over the years. My dean of students does attendance meetings every Monday. Kayla schedules all of them, and then she does community integration board meetings on Fridays. And then we can file a BECA petition with the court, a truancy petition, to let them know that the students aren't coming to school. That has come back, that was dropped through COVID, so we're getting back into that. The courts are a little slower because they want to see that we've done everything we can to re-engage them. Then we would have to file a contempt that they still aren't coming to school, and then a second contempt before really there's any teeth. And by then, most of the school year's over, and then the court at the end of the school year says, okay, all petitions are null and void, you start all over again. So there's not a lot of consistency, so we want to make sure that that system becomes a little bit more robust, so that we don't have to drop the petition, we can continue, so we can get parents, like, make it uncomfortable for parents, so that kids can come to school.
Do you anticipate the need for a truancy officer to be back Sunday?
I don't know.
So, I would say that this is probably gonna impact a couple of students, and I think that we probably have a lot of other ways to impact many more students. I think that trying to understand, or obviously don't understand right now what is keeping these students from being here, and with all the kind of traditional methods that we're doing of reaching out and connecting. So I think that we really need to, besides have a system in place, start to really understand what's going on with these kids, because these numbers are, even though this year's is higher than previous years, there are a number of kids that still don't graduate from high school. I need to find out why that is. And I think only talking to those kids before we get to that place is going to be beneficial. So it's something we'll start doing is hearing and getting other students involved, peers involved as well. Something I think would be really helpful. Actually, positive influences and connections at school. Like those are a couple of things. And I also think it's really important that it is articulated. When are those conversations happening? So we're aware, we're all aware, we can celebrate those successes when we find and get students to come back after the process. So.
I mean, those, those reasons are so individually based. Each student that are in those situations have some issue, but don't you think mostly it's domestic, like what's going on in the home and, I don't know if that's your experience. I've seen it in my line of work, so like, it's, you know, especially this age group where there's so much going on and things are going on at home, it impacts their
I would say
ability to make it.
mental health increase
Yeah,
has become a big issue, big anxiety, depression. The inability to make it to school, walk in the door, which is why we're so fortunate to have our online academy program, because we are able to at least get them to engage.
Meet those
And-
needs.
Yeah, and then we try and like slowly bring them back so we can do the hybrid model, like. Go do this full time, but try and come back
That's
one
good,
period,
yeah.
2 periods. I would say, you know, substance use is an issue. And so those two things, and then I think family needs, you know, people, they want their kids working, they need to help support their family, they need to take care of their siblings. So, and the Warren's assessment that we give does try to pinpoint like a couple of reasons as to why attendance is an issue.
A point I wanna call out, which isn't by no means dismissing any of the conversation or the numbers we see here, because we do see some increases. I think one of the things that we've also talked about is we did have a smaller cohort last year. So each student who had something different happen from a mathematical standpoint, adjusted that percentage in a greater way than when we have a larger cohort. So just as we kind of finish looking at this data, I think that was a piece that we're gonna look at areas that we can absolutely, you know, grow and learn and improve and absolutely, and then we also have to look at the data itself. We just go, okay, so, you know, if you have, you know, when one student, you know, has one thing happen, how does that change a cohort's holistic data? Really, there is some difference when you talk about the size of the group as well.
Do they have any questions for Jeanette or myself?
Thank you. Thank you for the update and the work and efforts that are being put forward, and you proactively approach some of this in the future, and it's continued to evolve in the last few years, and I appreciate all the effort. Thank you. Next item is WSPRA recognition, that's been a moment.
I am very pleased tonight to be able to present the Award of Merit from the Washington School Public Relations Association in the category of Communication, Public Relations, and Marketing for the Devices on and Learning on Communication campaign in the Lakewood School Board. The board played a vital role in leading this successful effort to address concerns about student distraction from cell phones and other devices. After a district survey in the spring highlighted the disconnect between student and adult perspectives, the board initiated a thoughtful multi-step process. There were listening sessions with family, staff, students, and the board read The Anxious Generation to understand the mental health impact of device use. With equity and budget in mind, the board supported a practical solution, including backpacks with the phones back during class. Early feedback has been encouraging. Teachers and principals have noted stronger engagement. Students have noted more peer interaction. So thank you for your collaborative efforts to create a focused learning environment for students. Like a present out?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for all your support with this.
Yeah. I just wanted to be Cynthia for her nomination of the board for the work that went into it.
Thank you, Christina, for all your support and being able to put those surveys out there. Okay. Now we will move into policy review. The first item is revised board policy 3241, student discipline, step second reading.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, provided for your potential approval this evening and review is the second reading of policy 3241. That is the student discipline, and that is a critical update. I appreciated the robust conversation we had at our last session. There were no questions for me to review or to answer for this evening, and what is provided before you is the same policy as was presented at our last session. Are there any questions that I can address?
Any questions regarding the second reading? Thanks. With that, this one is an action item.
Make a motion to approve policy board policy 3241.
Second.
Any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, opposed nay. Motion unanimously passed. Thank you. Next item is revised board policy 1005, functions of the board, second reading.
All right. And so for your review, we have the board policy 1005, key functions of the board. Again, this is a discretionary policy that we had updated back in November 2023, and we had the first reading at our board meeting October 15th. During the first reading of this policy, there were no edits or changes suggested, so I would recommend approval of updated board policy 1005, key functions of the board.
Any additional questions regarding this one? This is also an action item.
I move for the approval of revised board policy 1005, key functions of the board as presented.
Second. Any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It's unanimously passed. Thank you. Next item is revised board policy 1210, annual organizational meetings.
All right, so we have updated board policy 1210, which is currently titled annual organizational meeting. This was a policy that is discretionary and was last updated in 2019. But we did do the first reading at the last meeting. Again, there were no edits or changes that were suggested, and a note that part of this update is the changing of the title from organizational to organization. So with that, I would recommend approval of the updated board policy 1210, annual organization.
Board policy 1210.
I'll second.
Any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion is unanimously passed. Revised board policy 1630, evaluation of superintendent, Dr. Murphy.
All right, sticking with those revisions right now, we have a revision of board policy 1630, evaluation of superintendent. We updated, this has been updated in 2014, October 2014, and we had the first reading in October of this year. During the first reading, there were no updated policy edits or changes, so I recommended approval of updated board policy 1630, evaluation of superintendent. And make a motion to approve revised board policy 1630 as presented.
Also, any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion is unanimous. Thank you. I did want to mention the reordering of this next item E to be after item G. It's retirement of this policy that I believe item G is.
Yes, we're gonna just flip them around.
Those around, so. We're doing item G now.
We are doing item F.
Okay. All right. So revised board policy 1820, board self-assessment, second reading. Dr. Murphy.
All right, so for your consideration this evening, I have updated board policy 1820, board self-assessment. Again, we updated this back in November of 2023 and had the first reading of this on October of this year. And with that, during the first reading, there were no policy updates or changes. And in addition, I want to remind you that the update of this policy is procedure. I would recommend approval of updated board policy 1820, board self-assessment.
Any questions? Action item as well.
I move for the approval of revised board policy 1820, board self-assessment as presented.
Second.
Any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimously passed, thank you. Next item is new board policy 1821 standards for individual school directors, second reading. All right, so this is policy 1821 is again a new board policy. So and it was first brought at the last meeting we had in October. Again, a big part of this is the creation of this board policy actually takes information that is a couple different policies and really puts them into policy 1820 and the newly created 1821. And so it is all about alignment of kind of those standards and expectations for individual board members in alignment with the Washington School Director Board member standards, and about the annual assessment of those standards, you know, with the collaboration of the board to really assess, are we collectively functioning, and then what might be some for growth. So this 1821 kind of tease those out individually from what are those standards for individual board members. So this is the second reading, and there were no edits or changes suggested in the first one, so I would recommend adoption of new board policy 1821 standards for individual board members.
I make a motion to adopt new board policy 1821 standard for school directors.
Second. Any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Now we move on to the retirement of board policy 1810, annual governance goals and objectives. It's listed as.
It's a first and
Final retirement.
And notice. And it's really for the reasons I just shared. So, in October, WASA updated their policy use, you know, documentation, and it said, you know, as they shared, these are the updates we suggest. In as the incorporation of the information that had in part been originally in policy 1810 got and then pushed over into policy 1820 and 1821, it's no longer a needed policy. And so WASA has recommended its retirement. So with that, I would recommend an alignment, the retirement of policy 1810 annual governance goals and objectives.
I make a motion for the approval of retirement board policy 1810.
I'll second. Any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Thank you. Next, we have revised board policy 4260, use of civil facilities, first and final. Stand by.
We are requesting approval to revise the district facilities schedule policy 4260 to add 2 additional groups in category 2 because of 1 and 2. These additions will help ensure the consistency of the applications based on student levels involvement in the district. So category 1 would be teams or organizations of both 50% participation would be category 1. Or A, then category 2 would be any organizations or student team-based programs that are 80%. These categories will allow us to have a more equitable fee schedule and prioritize Lakewood students' access to our facilities while still what we need for our community. It's our recommendation to the village to approve the additions to category 2 for category 3. And the facilities schedule and policy.
And I wanted to make a note there. Generally speaking, we could just bring you the fee schedule as a single action item, because it splits out category 2 into A and B, and it was referenced in the policy. That's why the policy is being brought as first and final, because it then kind of tees that over into making sure that there's alignment between the policy and the form itself. So it brings clarity. Alex and I also met with a community member who's really involved in youth athletics in our community, that and one of the things that as we dug further in, he had done some research and we had a good conversation about how do we ensure that programs that are predominantly have a predominant enrollment of Lakewood students get the first access to our facilities and get the access at a price point that is allowing them to not increase prices for families. And so, a couple things that were key in here is that we are making sure that if a custodian is on duty, so all the way to the point that they're off at 10 or 11 at night, that organization's not being charged for. But if they go to midnight, they are, because they're not on duty working with us, or if they're on the weekends, or if they're on holiday, and so those are some delineations. But we also had a good conversation about, not having a public funds. We are, and so Alex calculated and looked at actually using a lot of software, what is a utility energy usage, what are the bills that we're paying because the lights are on, and we're using that in those areas, and so that, as we had that conversation, at least the individual we were talking about was like, that makes perfect sense. And so we were able to kind of find a price point that made sense in terms of covering our costs. Again, when it comes to our community members, our community using our facilities, we aren't looking to make money in that situation. We also can't lose. So we have, whether it's utilities, whether it's commodities like toilet paper and paper towels and things like that, there is a cost associated that is not part of our instructional program. The district is responsible for it. So that's kind of what we're trying to recoup. And then the other group is for those that are below that threshold. Does not diminish the importance, but we want to make sure that our taxpayers who already are living here get the first right, and that we have that lower cost. And then if someone else has the ability wants to access our facilities, how there still could be access, but how does that look different?
I appreciate that. Can I ask a couple questions? I just have a quick question for two clarification purposes. For the high school gym, is it, so like, let's say youth basketball comes in, is it the whole gym, or is the gym one and the aux gym is another cost to them?
Two separate gyms.
Okay,
Similar to the middle school, it's no different than the schoolhouse is one gym. So it's single, like one
Yeah.
court, basically.
so basically it's gonna be $28 an hour for them to use our facility. Okay,
And I'm not sure if, I think, I'll at least say the person we talked to in the program, that was not a concern.
perfect.
And the price that we base it off of is our electricity. That's how I calculate, because I can literally, especially here at the school, I can calculate it down per space.
Nice.
So that's our hard cost right there.
Yeah, and then my second question was regarding where it says concession stand. And that Booster Club gets all the proceeds. I'm assuming, do we mean like? If somebody comes in and uses the concession stand that's under the stadium, or are we saying? The Booster Club's gonna get all the proceeds, but they're also gonna come in and do all the work, like I'm just not sure what this means by this.
We were trying to continue with what our current practice is.
That
We're trying.
hasn't changed.
Yeah, I think that if you look at the three, it says groups may set up their own concession stands, so does that mean that if groups set up?
They can set them up outside of our concession. They're
That's
not using
what
our
I'm
concession
saying, right.
areas, I guess,
It's what they're.
just so that they're not using our equipment.
Yes,
That's-
okay,
they're
okay,
not
okay.
using
Okay,
And then they get those, if they're not using our equipment, they're not in our area, they get
Yeah.
their.
Yeah,
perfect, okay.
they're not using the free using.
Yeah.
That was one question. Are there any other questions regarding this item?
I just want to make one final note that we, it was important that we update this form. As we update it, we're finding some things such as we talked about, childcare, we're talking about kind of how to ensure that there's kind of that access for our community. We're thinking we found all the different pieces. We don't know that 100%. So, but this was a great conversation that we had, because yes, there was, the individual we were talking with was kind of representing maybe one particular sport, but we even share with that person, this kind of cascades overall. So whether someone comes and they wanna, whatever the sport. And so that's, we were trying to have a collective solution that made sense no matter what. And they were appreciative and supportive of that too. So I think it was, as we find different pieces, it's like, okay, well, where else might this apply, right? And we're trying to make sure that we're finding those. But so I think we're feeling good where we're at now, and, but we want to be honest that, it's possible you might see us again with another piece, but we are feeling pretty good right now.
That's the beauty of being able to,
Yeah.
visit these.
Yeah.
And this was one of the
Yeah.
when we first started, this was one of those areas where no one wanted to touch it, what we got here, because of this. So we just want to make it equitable, President, that's kind of
Makes sense.
making sense, so.
Thank you. Any additional questions? No one?
I'll make a motion to approve the revised board policy for 260.
Second.
Any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you. Okay, approval of revised board policy 16, is a bid or request for proposal requirement.
First and final, I'll be quick. I am talking there, right? Just thought I would- I'll be quick. So I received some emails from the state auditor's office, from OSPI, and the Wasco, and based on that, I brought to Dr. Murphy's attention that we can update our thresholds so that we have a little bit more ability to not go out for stronger bids throughout that process. And since it hadn't been adopted by WASI yet, Dr. Murphy recommended that we also get approval from our attorney, and we did. So across the board, we see no issues with updating the threshold within policy 6220, which is related to bidding for our small tractor, not a micro purchasing threshold from 10,000 to 15,000, for the more simplified acquisition from 2,500 to 35, or 25,000 to 35.
Any questions regarding this? This one is an action item, is first and final.
Did you say 25,000 to 35,000? Do you mean 150,000 to
Yes, I did.
50,000? Okay.
It's been a long day. You guys trust me with your finances.
Sure. Write me a check today while you're feeling something.
Any additional questions? Has to be done. All right, this is an action item.
I move for the approval of revised board policy 6220, use of bid or request for proposal requirements as presented.
Any additional comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
None. Thank you. Next item is going to be board reports. With that, we'll go ahead and, David, do you want to start online?
I don't think I have anything has already been brought up. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Pete?
All right, I go next. I do know we can download our conference app. Other than that, that's a long time.
Hey, thank you. Debbie?
And I guess just around that, we should probably get together at some point. Look at what we're gonna go with, conferences we can go to.
Are they good?
Workshop, yeah, breakout,
Whatever.
I got out. Breakout. Yeah. And other than that. I think we talked a little bit, or we've been in your report about, I just wanted to share this about Halloween and hijinks that night. It was gonna be such a fun night, and it really still was, but boy, that wind just came and took everything Tom and I put on. And we had weights on our canopy and the poor fellas that brought in their music equipment. It was just, got a little sad and upsetting, but I felt bad for the little guys coming in, and I was running around handing out as much candy as I could. But, next year we'll do it again. Do the same thing. Yep, yeah.
Thank you. We had our senior night for football and cheer and, band. I was like, who is it? And one of the things I'm gonna say, I love that our football program has done the last couple of years, actually since Coach McShane came on board, is all of our seniors pick a district person, even if they're not here anymore, but who made an impact on their life. And we invite them to join us for team dinner that week for senior night, and then we acknowledge them during halftime, or usually football does it pregame, but we couldn't this night. And I just love that. I think that's a really great thing to do I love that. So I hope that continues, and That's been all I got. We got our last game Friday night against Blaine, their own, so. You know the
That weather this October, October's definitely been a lot wetter than the last year. We've had a lot more weather. Back I've been, yeah. Pumpkin patches and sun, that did not occur this year.
Yeah,
So,
true.
all right, I just wanted to call out, the English Crossing PTA have brought in, I think as mentioned earlier, the Missoula Children's Theater, and that was just such a fun performance. I went and watched last year, and then this year I had one of my children that's able to also perform, and it's just such a fun activity for them to be able to do something different, and I did appreciate this year it was on conference week, which was also great for parents and families. Last year it went really late to the evening, and so this year it was conference week that they were doing it, because they learned the play. They try out Monday, find out if they have a part Monday afternoon, and then rehearse Tuesday through Friday and put on 2 performances on Saturday, and so it was just really fun to see. I appreciate that, it's just a great activity, so. And I think that's about it for what I had. The next, with that, we'll get ready for adjournment with our next regular meeting on November 19th at 6 p.m. And our meeting is done. Thank you.